What's up, good people? Thank you for clicking play on another episode of Big Man, Tiny Kingdom. If you've been following along on my podcast, then you know that my style of camping varies from time to time. For me, it depends on the destination, the weather conditions, and the mood that I'm in when I'm making my plans. Most times, I prefer camping out of the bed of my Chevy truck. I've modified it with a high-rise camper shell, installed limo tent and perforated vinyl to the windows for shade and privacy, added a comfortable 6-inch memory foam mattress. I got solar power. I got a refrigerator. I got plenty of storage drawers so that everything that I bring is organized and easy to access. Only thing I haven't figured out is air conditioning, a must-have if you like to camp year-round in Arizona. However, that's when I just decide to escape some of the heat by traveling north during the hotter months. The summer limits the destinations for me, but I've come to figure out other ways to camp so that I can still get out and do what I love most. One style of camping that I've discovered is just as suitable as any other is staying in a cabin at the Arizona State Parks. On one of my recent getaways, I drove 2 hours north from where I live in Mesa to Cottonwood for an extended weekend stay at Dead Horse Ranch State Park. Now, if you've been following my podcast, then you'll remember that I spent the day at Dead Horse Ranch with fellow outdoor enthusiasts Elizabeth and Neil, who host the Arizona State Parks and Trails podcast, and who were so gracious to invite me to spend the day fishing with them, teaching me how to cast my fishing pole while allowing me the pleasure to feature them as guests on my podcast. It was a fun day on the lake. The fish weren't biting too much, but the birds were out. The weather was decent. I learned about how Dead Horse Ranch became a state park. It's a pretty cool story. You'll want to check out my episode with Neil and Elizabeth to hear about the origin of the park. Spending that day there excited me about returning to Dead Horse Ranch for some camping. I knew that the season was changing soon, and I didn't want to risk camping in the rain. Spring and summertime Arizona gets hit with the monsoon storm season. I don't mind camping in the heat. We'll be okay with camping in the snow, but the rain, nah, I'd rather not. I've experienced heavy rain once while camping, and although I enjoy the temperature drop that happens when it's raining, you're usually forced to go indoors to keep from getting wet, so it just kind of limits the fun I can have. I remember it still being early, and it was pouring for hours. I just decided to go to bed because there was nothing much else that I could really do. But that's the great advantage about camping in an RV, or in my case with Dead Horse Ranch, camping in a cabin. 8 of Arizona state parks have cabins. I've camped in a cabin at all but 2 of them. At each location, I would say that the cabins are similar for the most part in how they look. However, Dead Horse Ranch has a unique exception. The park decided to go with a log cabin style. It gave me a vibe of living in a countryside home. Compared to the other state park cabins I've been to, Dead Horse Ranch had the smallest of the cabins. There was a full-size bed and also a bunk bed set that was not that far from it. In the other parks I've been to, for example, Carpenter's Caverns, Lyman Lake, Lost Dutchman, and Lake Havasu, there was one bedroom area that had a big bed and then an area where 2 sets of bunk beds were in another room. I look at this as 2 bedrooms so that the parents can have a separate space from the kids. With Dead Horse Ranch, there's no separating. Everyone is packed in that one space. I would say that the overall size is snug, but still cozy. Still a nice spot big enough for me to feel relaxed and content. I had everything that I needed to have for me to enjoy my time there. The outside of the cabin was just as wonderful as the inside. The front porch was the perfect place to chill. Imagine granddad sitting in a rocking chair with his smoking pipe, sharing them old Southern good time stories about him and the fellas walking miles into town, paying 10 cents to buy an ice-cold Coca-Cola and a couple pieces of Hubba Bubba at Old Man Henderson's Market. Yeah, that's the kind of porch vibe that I got at the Dead Horse Ranch cabin. Wasn't much scenery in any direction. Where I was, there was cabins on both sides of me, parking and cabin in the front view. The backside was trees. At night, it gave off that creepy Halloween time cabin in the woods vibe. When it comes to stuff like that, I say, nope. I've watched too many scary movies, and growing up on one of the neighborhoods I lived in was called Shalishan, and it had this urban legend about these backwoods area called the Gulch. That's the place that Bald-Headed Murphy lived. To us kids back then, he was Tacoma, Washington's Friday the 13th Jason. Now, I know, or at least I think I know, that Bald-Headed Murphy was made up as a way to keep us kids from playing in the gulch. Fake or not, we knew better than to go up in there. And that's what I said about the back part of the Dead Horse Ranch cabin I was in. But honestly, it was nothing to be scared of, especially since off in the distance, you could hear cars driving by all throughout the night and see their headlights shine through the trees, which was a little bit of a thumbs down hearing that traffic so close, but it wasn't so bad it ruined my time there. Next morning, I did get brave enough to walk into the backwoods down a muddy pathway that looked like it was frequented by mountain bikers and horseback riders. I wasn't prepared. I wore the wrong shoes for that. But just after a short trail hike, I could hear water flowing. And if you follow the podcast and you know I'm a water person, love hearing and seeing water. It's relaxing to me. Dead Horse Ranch is connected to the Verde River. It's a good fishing spot, but even more so, it's one of the best places in Arizona for bird watching. There is a wide variety of birds and other wildlife that hang out at Dead Horse Ranch. Every year in April, the park is host to the Verde Valley Birding and Nature Festival. It's one of the many things to do at Dead Horse Ranch State Park. Plus, there are all type of other activities to check out while you're in the area. There's Jerome State Historic Park, which is a really awesome museum to explore and learn about the history of the old mining town, Jerome. Crazy uphill drive to get there, but I'm really glad I got to check it out. Also, not that far away is Fort Verde State Historic Park, which was a U.S. Army base back in the 1800s. What I like most about Fort Verde is every year during Black History Month, the city of Camp Verde puts together an event honoring the Buffalo Soldiers. It's cool that they do that. That's not the only activities they do. There's usually something going on every month to honor United States veterans. Tons of history packed in both Jerome and Fort Verde. Definitely worth spending some time at both of those parks while you're camping at Dead Horse Ranch or visiting the Cottonwood area. There's no possible way I could cover it all in this one episode. It will certainly be a memorable state park for me. It's the first place in Arizona that I went fishing, and that was an eye-opener day for me because for many years I've owned a pole, but it's not something I do much of, and I was actually surprised at just how much fun and therapeutic fishing really is, a great way to relax and pass the time. I'm looking forward to my next visit to Dead Horse Ranch State Park. With everything that it has to offer, I plan to make it a spot that I visit every year. Now that the weather is starting to cool down here in Arizona, I'm ready for some camping spots in the East Valley close to where I live in Mesa. I think my next trip will be to one of the Maricopa County parks. They're all within an hour from home. Still warm in the daytime, but at night you get that cool breeze, comfortable for sleeping, no fire restrictions, so time for some firewood. This next season is the best part of the year for us in Arizona. But regardless of where you're at, and regardless of what time of year it is, like I always say, make sure you're living life real big. This is Big Man, Tiny Kingdom.